Hey guys, Grumpy here with a brand new series called By the Rules. So the purpose of this mini-series is to roleplay as a Hegemony officer. We are going to hyper-focus on combat. I'm going to break down combat in a similar way to the way that we broke down trade and exploration and colonization in Long Haul. The goal of this series is to make you more comfortable with fleet composition, fighting on the battlefields, large-scale battles, and then understanding what the orders do and when you should use them. So this will be a mini series. I will edit these down, and I'm thinking it'll be maybe like 6 to 10 episodes total. I don't want this to go on as long as Long Haul did, and I want the episodes to be on the shorter side, maybe like 20 minutes. So we would start the episode with a fleet and a lesson. Execute that, and then at the very end we would do some post-battle analysis. So with that being said, let's go ahead and begin. We will play as Bruce Benson. Let's continue, and then let's go ahead and start off with a Hammerhead class destroyer, and we'll play on normal difficulty, and we'll skip the tutorial. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into something like Wolfpack Tactics. So what this is going to do is it will give more damage to if we pilot a frigate or if we pilot a destroyer. So us starting in the Hammerhead, this is going to give us a very nice boost from the start of the game. Let's go ahead and begin. I do intend to transition my fleet completely over to hedge ships. I don't intend to keep any midline. It's all going to be hedge. So besides the fleet composition being hedge ships, there are no other restraints. Well, actually, there is one other restraint. We won't trade on the black market, so we can commission with the hedge so we can get access to better weapons. It won't be like Long Haul where there's just absolutely nothing going on. So let's begin by cleaning up our bar. If I remember where things go. Sustain burn. This is salvage. Clear this. And this will be, we don't have it, but this will be transverse jump when we get it eventually. Sensor burst. Interdict pulse. And this is our free, and this is emergency burn. So we're pretty much going to have our transponder on at all times when we're in hedge territory. We'll probably have it on in hyperspace as well. Our plan is to grow our fleet as quickly as possible, get some actual ships going, and then from there we'll see what kind of combat we can get into. Let's head over to Jangala. Let's see if there are any missions available. Nope. You want us to do a delivery? 100 units of fuel. That's decent money, but we're not going to take that mission. So let's actually just head over to Garnier, see if there's any pirates that we can fight off, and we can just take weapons from them. So let's go ahead and refit our ships really quickly. We will remove blast swords, integrated targeting unit, convert over to safety overrides. Okay. Safety overrides is a very powerful hull modifier. It trades off range for higher top speed and better vents, so you get double the effectiveness of your vents. So let's go ahead and strip off the PD. Don't really need that. Like I said, we won't buy from the black market, so we'll just ignore those. And there's just absolutely nothing going on. Drover is pretty good to go. That's actually really good. Wow, that's really nice. We'll actually steal these sabos because we can use them a little more effectively. and then we'll give the drover the harpoons. The reason we want the drovers to have the harpoons is it's pretty much going to be in the backfield anyway, so having long range finishers is a little better for it. This is a mess. I'll just leave it as is. And this is okay, and that is okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and see if we can find a small pirate fleet to fight. And our goal is to become friendly. Where is it? Our goal is to become friendly with the hedge so that we can commission with them. I believe you need I believe you need 20, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see what we can find over here. We have one pirate fleet. Cool. So a little bit bigger than what we might necessarily want to fight, but this is okay. I think we still have the upper hand. Going into this fight, so some of the things that I look for are what is the hardest ship to destroy. That's going to be the Enforcer. So depending how the fight goes, we either want to isolate the Enforcer and ambush it, or we want to ignore the Enforcer and leave it for the end after we take out all the support ships and then dogpile it. So we have to see what we get as we go into the battle. Now for this, we will deploy all of our combat ships. If we need to, we do have the Dram available for a few extra harpoons, but it looks like it won't come down to that. Let's go ahead and move into engage, and we will stay in the hammerhead for this engagement. And let's go ahead and deploy. So here's the battlefield. This is a small map. There's also a larger map, which is significantly bigger and holds objectives. Because of the size of this fight, we only have to deal with the small battlefield. So going into this fight, I want some protection with me, so I'm going to highlight the Centurion. This is a tanky ship. Its special ability is Damper Field, which allows it to take 10 times less damage while Damper Field is active. It has a pretty long window when this special ability is active, and its cooldown is very short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself the light escort command. I do that by just selecting the ship and then right clicking on myself, and it'll automatically, depending on how many ships you assign to that order, it will determine the size of the escort. I know one frigate is going to provide one light escort. Now if you notice, I selected this and I clicked on myself twice. What that did was it added another frigate to the escort order. I don't necessarily want that to happen, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rescind that order. No, it won't let me. Okay, interesting. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the lasher, because I don't want it to follow me, the order to let's see. Let's just set it to search and destroy, and then we'll keep an eye on the lasher. Now the lasher is a DPS ship. It's what I like to call a CQC ship, close quarters combat ship. Holds its own. Right now it isn't necessarily set up properly, but it does provide nice kinetic damage from its heavy autocannons, and then it also provides nice high explosive damage in the form of its harpoons. So it is a pretty good asset on the battlefield. The one liability on our team is going to be the drover, so we want to make sure that we don't leave the drover isolated. I know the enemy has a Shrike, which is fast moving, but it is a frail ship, so we can destroy that. However, if the Shrike slips past us and gets to our drover, then our drover is going to have a very hard time defending itself. So with that being said, we know the enemy's forces, we know our forces, so let's go ahead and begin. The crux of the fight is probably going to take place around the drover, just so that we make sure that it stays protected. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin. So my controls on the battlefield are WSAD. That's what I prefer. My break command is actually middle mouse button. It just makes it easier. And then my settings are point, invert behavior of make turn key strafe, and make the ship auto turn to cursor. Basically what this means is I aim with my mouse, and it just makes it that much easier to control the ship. So first mistake that I immediately noticed is I did not rearrange my weapons. Right now my sabos should be on the same channel and they should be linked. Right now they're on 3 and 4, which is a little awkward for me. I prefer my missiles to be on channel 2 and then my main weapon to be on channel 1. So take a little adjusting, but I think that's going to be okay. So we want the Centurion to get in position. And then we want to keep an eye, actually, to make this easier for ourselves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bind the I was going to bind the Lasher to the Drover just so it has an escort, but I don't think that's necessary. I'm actually just going to tell the Lasher to follow me just so it doesn't fly away. Now, if you notice, that order costs a command point. While you're in the tactical screen, this bar will slowly tick down, and it allows you to issue more orders while this bar is up, and they don't cost any additional command points. However, if you go to the main screen and then go back to the tactical screen, you'll notice that bar is no longer there. So any additional orders we issue now would cost another command point. In small engagements, this isn't necessarily important. However, once you get to bigger engagements, your command points are very, very valuable. Spending them early on can leave your fleet in a very vulnerable position. So with both ships following me now, we're pretty much going to swing and hang around the Drover just to make sure that nothing can swarm it. The broadswords and the daggers are going to provide very excellent additional fire. And then we're going to look for those opportunities wherever we can in order to take out some enemy ships. Like the Shepherd's a very weak ship. The Cerberus is a very weak ship as well. Yeah, Mud Skipper. And the Shrike is a little dangerous. However, it has a very weak shield and pretty much no armor to speak of. So this might be actually the easiest ship to get rid of. It tends to be very aggressive. So wherever the Drover goes, we kind of want to go. Just make sure we're protecting it. Okay. Alright. So now, watching the battlefield, looks like we might have an opportunity to get the Centurion to harass the Enforcer. And what this is going to do is it'll pull the frigate within range of the destroyer to get its attention, and then it'll back away. Now with harass command, you can't really control where your ship is going to end up. However, harass will do its best to stay within range, however not get too close to destroy it. So let's go ahead and click on the enemy. As you can see, depending what ship you click on, left click, will change your orders. So we'll select harass. And now, because all ships are assigned to a certain task, the order doesn't automatically get filled. However, if we had a free ship, then one of the frigates would go ahead and jump on this order. We're going to take the Centurion, since it's our tanky ship. Go ahead and right-click it. There's no visual indicator because these ships are so close. However, because we right-clicked on the Enforcer, now the Centurion knows to go ahead and begin its harassment of the Enforcer. You can't control this. However, ideally what we'd want is the Centurion to wander off to the left away from this, allowing a 3-on-4 engagement. So let's see if we can steer sort of this way. In fact, in order to encourage this, we'll go ahead and select the Drover and we'll tell it to focus its fire on the Cerberus so we can get rid of it first, and then we'll keep an eye on the Shrike back here. Alright, so as we pull our fleet off to the left, okay, Looks like we have an opportunity to go ahead and get rid of the strike. So we're going to do that by opening the engagement with Sabo so that we can build up his flux. I mentioned this in my beginner's combat guide. We have the flux advantage now, so because we have so little flux and the enemy has so much, its options are very limited. In fact, what'll probably happen is it'll keep its shields down and eat a Sabo to the face, which is good for us because it means the EMP damage from the Sabo missiles will disable a lot of these front-facing weapons, allowing us to drop our shield and give us even more of a flux advantage. Let's see. So we did fire off one Sabo. Its options are keep its shields up and overload, or drop its shields. Let's see what it decides to do. Okay. So it decided to keep its shields down, and it just ate the brunt of the Sabo, and it took a lot of hull damage. Now, the Sabo missile is known for its kinetic damage. However, you can kind of think of it like a shotgun. And each one of those pellets do 200 damage, and it fires 5 pellets. So it does a significant amount of hull damage if you can crack the armor. Anyway, now the strike is nearly destroyed. We're going to go ahead and press the F key. Well, we're going to when we unpause, we're going to press the F key, which is going to activate the Hammerhead special ability, which is accelerated ammo feeder. What this is going to do is it's going to reduce the flux cost of all of our ballistic weapons and then greatly increase their rate of fire. So this little bit of flux that we have is pretty much not going to grow, and we're just going to push that flux advantage until the strike is destroyed. Cool. And just like that, we get rid of that ship. So now we want to assess the battlefield. Okay, so what do we have left? We have a Cerberus on our side. The Centurion, we want to check to see how its flux and hull are doing. It's doing okay. Is dealing with the Enforcer, but it looks like the 2 frigates have joined the Enforcer on the chase of the Centurion. That's fine. The Centurion can hold its own. So let's quickly get rid of this Cerberus and then pivot over. See if we can get rid of these 2 frigates. And then at the very end, see if we can get rid of the Enforcer. In between rounds of combat, even though we have safety overrides, even though we have safety overrides, with our shields up, our hard flux is not going to fall off. So we do need to lower our shields, and that's just good practice. When moving from engagement to engagement, you really want to make sure that you drop your shields so that you go into the next engagement with no flux, ideally, but as little flux as possible if you're still like in the thick of combat. Also, what we're going to do is, now that the strike's off the battlefield, we're going to go ahead and set loose the Lasher. We don't need it to escort us anymore, so we can go ahead and do this in one of 2 ways. We can either set a search and destroy order for the Lasher, which is going to tell it to find the nearest target and start attacking it, or we can rescind the order on us, which we'll do that instead. So we'll go ahead and cancel the order. And as you can see, now that the Lasher is a free ship, it doesn't have any orders assigned to it. It will fulfill the nearest order that it can. So in this case, it's going to be the harass command. Now, we don't necessarily want it to do the harass command. Instead, I think what will be more effective is if we tell the Lasher to go ahead and join us to fight this Cerberus. Let's go ahead and move on here, and let's engage the Cerberus. Now, something that I want to point out here is the AI isn't foolish. If you notice here, the Cerberus kind of curled around, identified where its allies were, and then moved towards them. And if you notice over here, these arrows point where the ship is facing. The Shepherd picked up on that and is actually moving towards us to help support the Cerberus, whereas the Mudskipper is going to continue supporting the Enforcer. So the AI will seek nearby allies, so don't get caught out chasing one ship and end up deep in the enemy's territory. So we want to be aware of our left and rights. We know the enforcer is over here, so we just want to keep an eye on that as we continue to pursue the Cerberus. Nice. And our drover provides that nice support for us. So now that again, we can check in here, the Lasher's order has been fulfilled. So it automatically goes to the next assignment that it can fulfill, which is that harass command. So in order to prevent that from continuing to happen, we're actually going to use what I like to call, or what I like to do is assign engage commands. So if we assign engage commands, what this will do is it'll notify the AI to head over here and target these ships. So depending on the size of the ship, the game will decide how many ships it should assign to a certain engage order. So because these are frigates, it'll assign one ship to it. If this was a capital ship, it might assign like 3 or 4 of your ships. So I like the engage command. It basically tells the AI to destroy the ship, whereas the eliminate command tells the AI destroy the ship no matter the cost. Eliminate is very, very, very situational. Do not use eliminate when you can just use an engage order, because eliminate will get your ships destroyed unless you have an absolute advantage. And if you have an absolute advantage, then you should probably just click full assault, or you should put your ships on search and destroy. So yes, be very cautious when you use eliminate. All right. So to help us out, because not all of our ships have safety overrides, when we get our command point back in 4 seconds, we are going to tell the Centurion actually to fly back towards us, at which point we'll be able to intercept the enemy fleet. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and grab the Centurion and drag it back towards us as we continue to engage. We can also, because we have our command frequency open, issue a different order. We're going to go ahead and change that to an engage order, so my ships know after they get rid of the Mud Skipper and the Shepherd, once they're free, start helping to destroy the Enforcer. Let's go ahead and move over here. And I'm actually going to hang out here in the path of our Centurion, which it looks like it's getting cornered now, so it is what it is. Alright. Looks like okay. Looks like the Centurion actually got out of its bind, so that's really good. So now, weapon analysis. I know that the Mud Skipper has what's called a Mark 9 cannon. This is a kinetic weapon. We can also press the R key, and it'll say here, Mark 9 autocannon, kinetic. Because it's kinetic damage, I know I can keep my shields down for this. Otherwise, it's just going to do an insane amount of flux damage to us, which, you know, we don't need. So just keep your shield down for that. The Shepherd over here doesn't have anything significant. It has Swarmer missiles, which don't do that much damage. They do high explosive, but not that much. And then it has a light machine gun, which is also kinetic. So we can pretty much ignore both of these weapon systems. We're just going to keep our shields down and go ahead and press that F key for the accelerate ammo feeder and pretty much burst these ships down. I'm zoomed in for this because I want to make sure all of these shots land. Right. Nice. Now that's taken care of, the only thing remaining on the battlefield is going to be our Enforcer. So the way we want to engage this enforcer is we want to surround it. So we want to make sure that we're behind it. We can actually rescind that order, which will tell the Centurion, hey, you don't have to go over here anymore. Just join this engagement. We're going to surround the enforcer because the enforcer has a 180-degree shield. If we can get behind it, then it can't defend from all of us. Now, its shield does operate independent of whichever way the enforcer is facing, so just because it's facing us, its shield could be in a different part of the ship. Doesn't matter to us. Either way, we're going to still engage it. Now, something we want to be aware of is it has Reapers, so we always want to make sure that we have a nice buffer to our flux. So while it's turned away from us, we're actually going to drop our shield and then go ahead and re-engage. The reason you want to do that is you do not want to get overloaded by a Reaper, because there will be a second one coming up very quickly. So now that we're engaging our target, we want to make sure that we're aiming for engines or we're aiming for soft spots. Soft spots being areas where the armor was already picked off. You want to target the engines because it stops the ship from moving. Ooh, nice. And we get an overload here. The reason we got an overload was because we built its flux up and decided to block, I think, a missile. And as a result, even though the missile did high explosive damage, it was enough to push its hard flux above its cap, causing an overload on the ship. So let's go ahead and continue to target it. Now let's take this off the battlefield. Nice. And just like that, we win our first engagement. So, pretty straightforward engagement. We destroyed all the support ships, and then we ended up taking out the enforcer last. We can look into ship recovery. Not really anything interesting here. Nothing really fit for a Hegemony fleet. So let's go ahead and continue on. Pick through the wreckage and enjoy our spoils. We can dump the metals. That's not necessary. And actually dump. Yeah, let's keep the supply because we're gonna burn through some of it anyway for repairs. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This will probably be the longest episode in the series. This one happened to be unedited. However, moving forward, they will be edited. So, thank you so much for the support on Long Haul, and I hope you guys enjoy this as well. Other than that, Grumpy out.